Welcome to episode 19 of Everything Under the Sun with your host, Pooja. I promise myself. That is what we're going to discuss today. I promise myself. I promise myself to be so strong that nothing can disturb my peace of mind, to talk health, happiness, and prosperity to every person I meet, to make all my friends feel that there is something worthwhile in them, to look at the sunny side of everything and make my optimism come true, to think only of the best, to work only for the best, and to expect only the best, to be just as enthusiastic about the success of others as I am about my own, to forget the mistakes of the past and press on to the greater achievements of the future, to wear a cheerful expression at all times and give a smile to every living creature I meet, to give so much time to improving myself that I have no time to criticize others, to be too large for worry, too noble for anger, too strong for fear, and too happy to permit the presence of trouble, to think well of myself and proclaim this fact to the world, not in loud words but in great deeds, to live in the faith that the whole world is on my side as long as I am true to the best that is in me. Beautiful poem, isn't it? This is written by Christian D. Larson. It's a simple yet powerful poem, and I consider more as a mantra than a poem. The words are not complicated or twisted. It is just a simple promise. What makes it so relatable is that it's a promise to the self. It's deeply personal. I came across this when I was reading the book The Secret by Rhonda Byrne many years ago, and I watched the movie. It affected me deeply and awakened me to my own internal world of thoughts, which up until that moment I thought were random and did not amount to much. When I read this poem and I decided to make this promise to myself, I was surprised to see how much I hesitated. I'm someone who believes in integrity and the power of the word. I never promise something I cannot follow through. If I promise something, I ensure that I follow through, else my conscience does not let me rest. But this time, it was even more intense and serious because I realized I was afraid to let myself down. This was a revelation in my own relationship with myself. If I am going to promise these things to myself, I know that I cannot cut corners and take shortcuts because I will know. It also showed me that I am my biggest critic, and the self is observing in minute detail every thought, action, and emotion, and the self can be brutal in its critique. Intense, isn't it? So I decided to back up a little and add some pressure relievers in the mix to ensure I do not get rigid in the promise and turn this into something negative. So I took a printout of this poem and I stuck it on the back of my bedroom door with sellotape. Nothing fancy. I decided as soon as I wake up, I will read this first thing in the morning. I knew very well that there will be life that happens through the day, and I may not at every moment be able to live this promise, but I will try. I will remind myself as many times I can and try and live a part of the promise, if not all of it. And so I embarked on this new experiment. I was all excited, and a few days everything was upbeat. I was able to keep up with it. But then, few days, things did not go my way, as it is bound to happen. Someone pissed me off, something happened, my energy was low, and I felt sad. At that time, when I would read the poem, it would feel like an empty, hollow exercise. But I would still do it, just for the sake of it. The poem stayed on my bedroom door for many, many months. And nothing miraculous happened. But something in me started shifting. The priorities in life started shifting. My outlook started moving. I started focusing more on self-improvement. Yes, There were days the past would come haunting and I would spiral down memory lane of blame and sorrow. But I learned to recognize and reduce my visits there, if I may call that. The one line in this poem that had the most impact on me is to spend so much time improving myself that I have no time to criticize others. I may not remember the entire poem, but this one line is embedded in memory. Whenever I feel myself comparing my life with others, or feeling sad for losing out on life, or blaming someone for being the way they are, and so on, this line jumps out, and I make the conscious effort to stop the negative conversation, whether with someone or in my head. This line does not talk about forgiveness or moving on or ignoring hurt, none of that. This line helps refocus on the now, the only moment we actually live. When we watch too much news or scroll through too much social media, at times, like others, I too get worked up and agitated with all the bad things and injustice happening in the world. Or if some topic comes up in a conversation and I start rambling or complaining about a person or a situation, I end up feeling drained and tired on an energy level. It leaves a bad taste in the mouth, so to speak. I do not like the cribbing version of me, which very much exists. If this moment is the only moment in time and space that matters, is it worth wasting it on complaining or brooding over things we have no control over? If this was the only moment that mattered, no past, no future, just this very moment in time and space, wouldn't I rather spend this improving myself or the lives of someone else? I could read or listen something uplifting. I could learn or teach something new. I could help someone or do something of value for someone. Or I could garden, I could cook, sing, laugh, dance, take my dog for a walk, play with some kids or meditate. I could do so many things that do not involve criticizing or complaining or cribbing or whining. What this line shows me is that I have a choice. No one has kept a gun to my head and asked me to stay in a lower vibration of energy. It is my choice. I heard this beautiful story of bravery and exercising the power of choice even in adversity. We all have heard of the great king Prithviraj Chauhan, the great warrior king. He protected his territory from invaders for many, many years and fought many battles. Unfortunately, he was defeated and captured by the king Muhammad of Ghor. The enemy king wanted to taunt Prithviraj Chauhan, and he ordered for his eyes to be gouged out, and he was made blind. Prithviraj Chauhan was now blind and humiliated in the court, but the enemy king wanted more. So he said to Prithviraj Chauhan, I have heard of your great archery skills, that you can shoot just by hearing sound. Why don't you demonstrate it for us? Now imagine, this is the enemy king talking to this great warrior king as if he was some court jester. Instead of getting angry, Prithviraj Chauhan said, of course, I will show you my archery skills, but on one condition. If you agree that my court poet Chand Bardai would be allowed to stand near me. The enemy king didn't think much of that, and the show was organized in the court. And upon hearing the gong, Prithviraj Chauhan was supposed to, leave that arrow, shoot that arrow in the direction of the sound. While the preparations were going on, Chand Bardai, the poet, recited a couplet to the king Prithviraj Chauhan. I'll just read that. Char baans 24 gaj, ungal asat parman, ta upar sultan hai, mat chuke Chauhan. When the gong was sounded, King Prithviraj shot his arrow and it hit the throat of the king Muhammad of Ghori, killing him instantly. What very few knew was that not only could Prithviraj Chauhan shoot with sound, but with understanding the distance as well. And the poet Chand Bardai had recited the distance and the angle of where the enemy king was seated to help his king achieve this feat. It is said that as soon as he killed the enemy king, he and Chand Bardai stabbed each other so as to escape the fate of being recaptured. Now, note, this poem is found in Prithviraj Raso, which was written by Chand Bardai and does not have any other historical evidence to prove it. The learning I take from the story is looking at the now in any circumstance. What a brave soul he must have been. Instead of accepting his fate and waiting to be beheaded at the hands of a cruel enemy who had defeated him, looted his empire, gouged out his eyes, and now wanted to humiliate him, he took up whatever opportunity to keep the battle going. Symbolically, I believe even if we are not victorious externally, every attempt at improving, every attempt at self-progress will eventually bear fruit. The promise to yourself to focus and keep refocusing every time you slip is the key. I suggest you search for this poem by Christian D. Larson, print it out, paste it on your wall or on your door, keep it near you. Read it if possible the first thing in the morning and then go out about your day. Try reading it anytime you remember throughout your day, and then notice after a few weeks if anything shifts within you. I will be sharing more promises on my Insta, Everything Pooja, and on other social media feeds over the next few weeks. Hope this inspires you to make meaningful promises to yourself with every intent of keeping those. Signing off for now, your host Pooja. Loads of love, stay safe.